The year was 2398. A quiet silence surrounded the Earth's orbital research station. Floating far above the planet, inside, Ethan Brooks sat alone at his desk, eyes focused on the glowing interface in front of him. He had been working long hours, monitoring space signals and checking logs for anomalies. Most of the time, it was just noise. But that day, something different appeared. It started as a low hum, then grew into a soft rhythm. Ethan leaned in, tapped a few keys, isolated the signal, and played it back. The sound repeated. It was not random. It was a pattern. It was like a language. Ethan worked for hours without taking a break. He decoded parts of the message and found symbols that made sense. It was not from Earth. It was something else. Something alive. It was a greeting, sent by a distant species. They called themselves the Orlin, Ethan told his team, and soon, higher authorities got involved. The Earth Defense Council watched closely. Everyone was careful, but Ethan became the main point of contact. He had a natural understanding of the signal. When the response came, it came to him. A voice entered through the CUM system. It was calm, smooth, and clear. Not like a robot, but like a real person. Her name was Lysaria. She said she was an explorer from her world, reaching out to find others who could listen. Ethan responded with simple words, and she replied with growing interest. Day by day, the voice became familiar. Ethan started to enjoy the long hours. They talked about stars, galaxies, and Earth's history. Lysaria asked many questions. She wanted to know about human music, emotions, and life. Ethan shared stories and played sounds from Earth. She listened with care. Sometimes, Ethan forgot he was speaking to an alien. The connection felt real, deep, and peaceful. He would wait for her messages and reply quickly. She was always there, even when his shift ended. Stayed longer each night, drawn to her words. One evening, after many long conversations, Ethan sat alone again. The lights were dim. Outside the window, Earth glowed in the distance. His screen lit up and her voice returned. Ethan, she said, I enjoy speaking with you. You are kind. You listen. You think. Ethan smiled. I enjoy our talks too. It helps with the silence up here. She paused, then asked, Do you live with someone? Are you with a partner? Ethan blinked. He was not ready for that. No one had ever asked him that through a space signal. He sat still. Are you single, Ethan? She asked again. He froze. He had faced many strange things before, but this was different. It was not a question from a machine. It was personal. He looked out the window, trying to think. His heart beat faster. He knew the answer. He had always been alone. But saying it felt like something more now. It meant something. Yes, he replied, after a moment. I am. There was silence. Then she spoke softly. I see. Thank you for telling me. The signal ended for the night, but the question stayed in Ethan's mind. He kept thinking about it. The way she said it, the way he answered. He felt something shift inside him. He sat back in his chair and looked at the stars. The silence returned, but it felt different. Not empty, just waiting. He did not know what would happen next, but he knew the voice would return, and when it did, he would be there. The station remained quiet, just Ethan, the stars, and her voice in his head. Ethan sat quietly in the control room. It had been 3 days since Lysaria last spoke to him. He replayed their last conversation in his mind again and again. The question still echoed in his thoughts. It was not just a question, it felt like a turning point. The Earth Defense Council noticed the silence too. They wanted answers. Ethan explained that the signal had stopped, but he did not tell them everything. He kept the personal part to himself. He was not sure how they would react. One morning, an urgent call came from the council. They had a new plan. They had created a device called a neural link interface. It would allow Ethan to meet Lysaria in a shared virtual space. It would not just be voice anymore. It would be like standing face to face. Ethan agreed. He wanted to see her, even if it was only in a digital form. The team set up the device, placed it on his head, and connected him to the system. The room faded. Colors swirled. Then the scene changed. Ethan stood in a large hall with stars above and glowing walls. It felt real, but not Earth-like. He looked ahead and saw her. Lysaria stood tall with glowing green eyes and white hair flowing behind her. She wore a dress that shimmered like water. Her skin had soft patterns that glowed faintly. She smiled as she stepped closer. "Welcome, Ethan," she said gently. He nodded, amazed. "So this is you? A part of me?" she answered. "This form is to help you feel at ease." They began to walk through the hall. Stars moved above them, and gentle music played in the background. They spoke about many things. Ethan told her about Earth's oceans, mountains, and cities. She told him about her world's floating gardens, crystal towers, and silent skies. Noticed how she asked more about feelings this time. She wanted to know what made humans happy, what made them sad, and why they loved stories. At one point, they stopped by a window showing a galaxy spinning in the distance. Lysaria looked at him. "Do humans feel lonely, Ethan? Even when they are not alone?" He thought for a moment. "Yes. Sometimes we feel alone even with others. Sometimes we hide what we feel." She nodded. "I do not want to hide. I want to know the truth. I want to understand you." Ethan looked at her, unsure what to say. No one had ever said that to him before. He sat down on a soft bench near the edge of the hall. She leaned slightly closer. "When I asked if you were single," she said, "I did not mean to confuse you. I asked because I felt something. A connection. Is that the right word?" Smiled, nervous. "Yes, that is the word. And I felt it too." They were quiet for a moment, and Lysaria said, "This place is not real, but what I feel is real. I want to speak without machines. I want to reach beyond them." Ethan nodded slowly. "I want that too." After a while, the virtual space began to fade. The session was ending. The system could only run for a short time before it ended. She looked at him and said, "I will find a way to be closer. Not just in mind, but in presence. Wait for me." The scene disappeared and Ethan woke up in the lab. The lights felt too bright and the room too cold, but his heart was full. Looked at the team around him. They asked questions, but he gave short answers. He wanted to keep the moment for himself a little longer. Later that night, alone in his room, he closed his eyes and remembered her words. He knew things were changing. She was not just a voice anymore. She was something more. And deep down, he knew she would return. Outside, the stars kept shining. Somewhere among them, she was waiting too. Ethan sat in the briefing room as the council members looked at him through large screens. Their faces were serious. They had reviewed the data from the virtual meeting. They had seen how Lysaria looked, how she spoke, and what she asked. "This connection is too personal," one of the officials said. "We need to take control. From now on, communication with Lysaria will be handled by our diplomatic AI." Ethan felt a weight in his chest. "Oh." He tried to explain. "She does not respond the same way to machines. She understands people, not programs." "That's exactly the problem," another voice replied. "This is not about friendship. It's about protecting Earth. We cannot risk emotional influence." Ethan had no choice. The order was final. The next day, the AI began the session with Lysaria. It asked questions in a cold, robotic tone. It offered Earth's terms for peaceful contact. There was no reply. The signal stayed silent for hours, then days. Nothing came back. The council waited. They believed the AI would succeed, but Ethan knew better. He'd felt the bond. He had seen her eyes and heard her voice. She had asked about feelings, not rules. She had spoken to him, not the Earth. Late one night, Ethan sat alone in his room. He stared at the stars outside the window. He wished he could speak to her again, not as a soldier, but as himself. Suddenly, his console beeped. A hidden message appeared on the screen. It was encrypted in the old signal format. He opened it. "Ethan, are you there?" His heart jumped. He typed quickly, "Yes, I'm here. I missed your voice." The reply came slowly. "They replaced you. I stayed quiet because I did not want to speak with empty code." He smiled sadly. "I wanted to talk to you too. I think I'm too close. Are you afraid of what they might do?" "A little. But I would rather speak with you than stay silent." There was a pause. Then her voice came through, soft and warm. "Then listen closely. I can no longer use the open channels. They watch everything. But if you still trust me, I can show you something." Ethan hesitated. He knew this would break protocol, But he also knew she had never lied. He said yes. The screen changed, a new interface opened. It was simple, glowing with her colors. She was there again, in the same form as before. Ethan, my people are careful. They have seen what fear can do. They sent me not just to talk, but to find someone. Someone who could understand us without fear. He looked into her eyes. Why me? Because you listened. Because you did not try to control. You let the connection grow. You trusted the unknown. Ethan felt her words deep in his chest. He had never felt that kind of truth before. Not from anyone. Lasaria reached out her hand in the virtual space. I want to continue, but not like this. Not under their watch. Will you help me? He nodded slowly. How do you need? Time and a chance. If you speak for me, if you ask for trust, maybe they will listen. But you must decide. This is not just about us anymore. The session ended. Ethan sat still for a long time. He knew what he had to do. The next morning, he stood before the council again. He told them everything. Told them Lasaria refused to speak to the AI. He told them she wanted peace, but not through cold voices. He asked for a chance to continue the talks himself. There was silence, then debate. Some members wanted to shut it down. Others saw the value in connection. Finally, they agreed to one more session, but this time it would be recorded. Ethan accepted. He did not care who watched. He only wanted to hear her voice again. As the station prepared the next session, Ethan looked out at the stars once more. Somewhere beyond them, she waited. And he would be ready. The link would open soon, and this time it would not be just talk. It would be the beginning of something more. Ethan stood in front of the glass screen in the main chamber. The light from the stars reflected on his face. The room was quiet, except for the low hum of machines. The time had come. The council had allowed one more session with Lysaria. Everyone would be watching. The virtual link opened. Ethan closed his eyes as the world around him faded. He found himself once again in the glowing hall with stars above. And there she was, waiting for him. Lysaria smiled softly, returned. They gave us one more chance, Ethan said. She looked around. I feel many eyes on us now. It is not like before. No, he agreed. But I will speak honestly. I won't hide anything. They walked slowly through the hall, just like before. The silence between them was not empty. It was full of things that did not need to be said. My people believe emotions are dangerous in first contact, she said. They fear that feeling can cloud reason. But I have learned that reason without feeling is empty. Ethan nodded. I understand. My people fear that too. They think I've lost control, but I've only found truth. Lasaria stopped walking. She turned to him. I am not just a voice or a signal. I am not a tool for data. I am the sovereign of my people. I speak not only for them, but also for myself. Ethan felt his chest tighten. He had always known she was different, but hearing this changed everything. Why me then? He asked. Why speak to me like this? Because you did not treat me as a task, she said. You spoke to me as a person. You shared stories, not orders. You listened, even when others did not. She moved closer. The stars above them shimmered brighter. I want to invite you, she said. Not as a diplomat, not as a soldier, but as a guest. Come to my world. See it with your own eyes. Ethan stared at her. They will never allow that. They fear what they cannot control. Then choose, she said. Stay with them and wonder what might have been, or come with me and discover what is real. Ethan turned away for a moment. He looked up at the stars above. This was not a small choice. It was everything. If I go, will I be safe? As safe as I can make you, she said. I cannot promise no danger, but I can promise truth. He thought of all the hours he had spent alone, waiting for her voice. He thought of how he felt when she asked if he was single. It was not just curiosity, it was something deeper. I want to go, he said, but I do not want to leave Earth behind with lies. I want them to know the truth, that we are not enemies, we can be more. She smiled. Then speak with them one last time. I will send a craft. It will wait. When you are ready, step aboard. The space around them began to fade. The link was closing. Ethan, she said before the vision ended, whatever you decide, know this. Our connection changed me, and I believe it changed you too. He opened his eyes in the chamber. The lights were too bright, and the air too still. The council waited behind the screen. "What happened?" one of them asked. Ethan stood tall. "She invited me to her world. Not as a spy, not as a weapon, just as myself." They began to argue. Some shouted. Some warned of danger. Others called it madness. Ethan waited for them to finish. "I have made my choice," he said. "I am not leaving out of fear or love. I am going because I believe there is something better, something we must try." The room fell silent. No one stopped him as he walked out. Back in his room, Ethan packed only a few things. The stars outside the window looked the same, but he felt different. He knew what came next, and he was ready for it. Far above Earth, hidden beyond sensors, a ship waited, quiet and bright, a path to another world. A new chapter was about to begin. The small alien craft waited in silence above Earth. Its surface shimmered like water under moonlight. Oh no. Radar on Earth could see it. But Ethan saw it clearly through the large window of the launch bay. It was time. He walked slowly down the long metal hallway. Each step echoed as if the station knew he was leaving. He had no guards, no farewell from the council. It's quiet. When he reached the airlock, the door opened with a soft hiss. A ramp extended from the ship. He took a deep breath and stepped inside. The inside of the craft was quiet and warm. The walls glowed with soft green light. The air smelled clean, unlike anything from Earth. A seat shaped to fit him waited in the center. He sat down. The moment he did, he heard her voice in his mind. "You came." He smiled. "I said I would. We're leaving Earth's orbit now. You may feel a light pull. Close your eyes if it helps." The ship moved without a sound. Stars outside began to shift. The Earth slowly shrank behind him. For the first time in his life, Ethan was leaving his world, not as a soldier or a worker, but as someone searching for something more. Lasaria spoke again. "I will guide you to my home. It will take some time. Rest if you need. You are safe." Ethan leaned back and let his eyes close. He did not sleep, but he drifted into calm silence. Thoughts came and went. He remembered his first message from her, the long talks, the laughter, and the question that changed everything. He opened his eyes hours later. Stars outside looked different now, brighter, larger. The ship had crossed a distance he could not understand. Then the ship slowed. A new world appeared. It was covered in green and blue, like Earth, but brighter. It danced on its surface, and clouds moved like slow rivers. "This is my home," Lysaria said. "We call it Olier." As the ship landed, Ethan felt something strange. A peaceful feeling that touched his mind and body. The ship opened, and warm air greeted him. He stepped out onto a smooth path. Tall trees with silver leaves stood around him. Flowers glowed softly in the dark. In the distance, buildings rose like crystals, clear and alive. Lasaria waited for him at the edge of a bridge. She looked the same as before, graceful, strong, calm. She walked toward him. "You crossed the stars to be here," she said. "I had to know what this was," Ethan replied, "what it could become." They walked through her city. People watched, but no one looked afraid. Some smiled, some bowed. The city was quiet but full of life. Children laughed in the gardens. Light moved through the air like music. Ethan felt something open inside him, a space he had never touched. It was not fear or love or duty. It was something deeper, a kind of trust. Lasaria brought him to a quiet place near the water. They sat under a glowing tree. "You are the first of your kind here," she said, "but not the last. One day others may come, but today is yours." Ethan looked at the sky. It was full of moons and stars he had never seen. He felt small and strong at the same time. Back on Earth, everything was noise. Here everything feels like a question and an answer at once. She smiled. "That is why I brought you. Not for power, not for science, but to understand." They sat together in silence. No need for more words. The connection between them said enough. Ethan knew he would not return to Earth soon. Maybe not ever, but he did not feel lost. He felt found. The story that began with a signal had brought him to another world. A voice in the dark had become a hand to hold. Somewhere long ago, she had asked, "Are you single?" Now, neither of them was alone. The stars above Oli shone quietly, as if they had always known this was where the story would end. Or maybe, where a new one would begin.